Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Skyrim video. Today we're just gonna be reading. Nothing big. I did try to record this before and I ended up reading like 2/3 of this and these two. This one's like, no one cares about this one, if we're gonna be honest. It literally has nothing of value other than what you've seen in the past few streams. Just been going around Whiterun in the past few streams and doing quests and stuff, so we basically know everyone. This one is pretty good to read, so I'll go ahead and read this one for you. Far too often, noble visitors from Sidriel see little more of Skyrim than the view from their carriage. To be sure, this coarse, uncivilized province is far from hospitable, but it is also a place of fierce wild beauty, with grand vistas and inspiring natural wonders awaiting those with the will to seek them out. And the refinement to truly appreciate them. If you are of a mind to see Skyrim for yourself, I recommend beginning your adventure as I did, by seeing the Stones of Fate. No doubt you are taken aback by the name, as I once was. The provincials and the village folk have all manner of dark tales about these ancient monuments, stories of necromantic rituals and fell spirits of great and terrible powers conferred on any who dare to touch them. The stories are, as Jarl Igrof, okay, said it right, once told me. It's basically a load of crap. A bit uncouth, but you get the point. To be sure, keep your guards with you at all times. Brigands and wild animals are never to be taken lightly, but the stones themselves are nothing to fear. Quite the contrary. Their proximity to cities and roads make them ideal destinations for the novice explorer, and many boast spectacular views that make the journey well worth the effort. To whet your appetite, here are 4 such locations. Most taverns enter Skyrim by way of Helgen. Travelers, not taverns. Gateway to the north. If you find yourself in this backwater hovel, consider taking an afternoon's ride to the north, keeping to the road as it winds down the cliffs at the eastern end of Lake Lieta. Just off Lialta. Just off the path, on a small bluff, lie the 3 Guardian Stones, the greatest concentration of standing stones in all of Skyrim. The view of the lake here at sunset is simply sublime. Visitors from Cheydinhal will pass through Riften, city of intrigue and larceny, since Tiber Septim's day. If you seek adventure in the Rift, leave the city by the southern gate and cast your gaze upon the bluff that rises to the south. Atop it sits the Shadow Stone, a fitting symbol for a city of thieves. Whiterun is the heart of Skyrim, its towering palace rivaling even the greatest castles of Sidriel. But should you tire of the Jarl's hospitality, another adventure awaits a few hours to the east of the city, along the road that rises above White River Gorge. The Ritual Stone can be found atop a lone hill that rises on the north side of the road, set into an ancient mountain. Take time to soak in the incredible view of Whiterun, the tundra, and the gorge from this unique spot. More seasoned explorers may wish to visit Markarth, an ancient city of stone far to the west. The recent Forsworn rebellion has made travel in the Reach perilous. Yeah, that's what I said. But for those determined to seek adventure, no matter the cost, another stone can be found on the east of the city, perched on a mountain above Kolskir Mine. I don't know how to say that. Though the climb is difficult, reaching the summit is a milestone any explorer could be proud of. There are other stones of fate I have I there are other stones to fate to be found in Skyrim. I have found okay. I myself have seen several more perched on the remote mountain peaks or wreathed in fog amid the northern marshes. But the true joy of exploration is in the discovery, and so I leave the rest to you. May the 8 guide your steps. I believe that most of the people in Skyrim have a religion, theocracy with 8 gods in it. Now, I'm just gonna warn you about this one. It's really long. I got to about okay, yeah, so I was like 1 page away from finishing it before I realized that my mic was muted. It's one of the longest books in Skyrim so far that I've seen. Okay. Ghosts walk among them. The departed spirits of the Dunmeri, which Dunmeri is a don't know exactly what it's translated to, but that's what they call the Dark Elves. And that's what I am, so that's why I wanted to read this again even though it's so long. The departed spirits of the Dunmeri, and perhaps those of all races, persist after death. The knowledge and power of departed ancestors benefits the bloodlines of the Dunmeri houses. The bonds between the living family members and immortal ancestors is partly blood, partly ritual, partly violation. A member brought into the house through marriage binds himself through ritual and oath into the clan, and gains communication and benefits from the clan's ancestors. However, his access to the ancestors is less than his offspring, and he retains some access to the ancestors of his bloodline, the family shrine. Each resident has a family shrine. In poorer homes, it may be no more than a hearth or a cove where family relics are displayed and venerated. In wealthy homes, a room is set aside for the use of the ancestors. This shrine is called the waiting room and represents the door to oblivion. Here, the family members pay their respects to their ancestors through sacrifice and prayer, through oaths sworn upon duties, and through reports on the affairs of the family. In return, the family may receive information, training, and blessings from the family's ancestors. The ancestors are thus the protectors of the home, and especially the precincts of the waiting room. So, since I'm a Dunmeri, even if I wasn't a Dunmeri, if I, married into a Dunmeri home or something, whatever, if I find a place with Dunmeri, I will most likely be able to, join their, house or whatever, their family, and, get these benefits from the ancestors, these trainings. I don't know, it might be, special things that I get trained on, special Dunmeri only spells or something like that, but that's why this is actually really important. Not all of these books are actually that important, it's just some of them are explaining stuff I already know about, but some of them tell you about opportunities to learn better stuff. That's why they're really important. Right, the ghost fence. It is the family's most solemn duty to make sure their ancestors' remains are interred properly in the city of the dead, such as Necrom. Here the spirits draw comfort from one another against the chill of the mortal world. However, as a sign of great honor and sacrifice, an ancestor may grant that part of his remains to be retained to serve as part of a ghost fence protecting the clan's shrine in family precincts. Such an arrangement is often part of a family member's will, that a knucklebone shall be saved out of his remains and incorporated with solemn magic and ceremony into a clan ghost fence. In more exceptional cases, an entire skeleton or even A preserved corpse may be bound into a ghost fence. These remains become a beacon and focus for ancestral spirits. For the spirits of the remains in particular, the more remains used to make a ghost fence, the more powerful the fence is, and the most powerful mortals in life have the most powerful remains. The great ghost fence created by the tribunal to hold back the blight incorporates the bones of many heroes of the temple and the houses in Indril and Redoran, who dedicated their spirits to the temple and clan as their surrogate families. The ghost fence also contains bones taken from the catacombs of Necrom in many battlefields of Morrowind. The mortal chill. Spirits do not like to visit the mortal world, and they do so only out of duty and obligation. Spirits tell us that the other world is more pleasant, or at least more comfortable for spirits than our world. Give me a sec. I just put some in my drink. Okay. Spirits tell us that the other world is more pleasant, or at least more comfortable for spirits than our real world, which is cold, bitter, and full of pain and loss. Mad spirits. Spirits that are forced to remain in our world against their will may become mad spirits or ghosts. Some spirits are bound to this world because of some terrible circumstances of their death, or because of some powerful emotional bond to a person, place, or thing. These are called hauntings. Some spirits are captured and bound to enchanted items by wizards. So basically, if you get like a high enough enchanting level or something of the sort, you can bind spirits to your weapon, probably to make them better, do more damage, and like have extra abilities and stuff. If the binding is involuntary, the spirit usually goes mad. A willing spirit may or may not retain its sanity, depending on the strength of the spirit and the wisdom of its enchanter. Some spirits are bound against their wills to protect family shrines. This unpleasant fate is reserved for those who have not served their family faithfully in life. Doubtful and honorable ancestral spirits often aid in the capture and binding of wayward spirits. These spirits usually go mad and make terrifying guardians. They are ritually prevented from harming mortals of their clans, but that does not necessarily discourage them from mischievous or peevish behavior. They are exceedingly dangerous for intruders. At the same time, if an intruder can penetrate the spirit's madness and play upon the spirit's resentment of his own clan, the angry spirit may be manipulated. Oblivion. The existence of oblivion is acknowledged by all Tamriel cultures, but there is little agreement on the nature of that other world, other than it is the place where Daedra and Daedra live, and that communication and travel are possible between the world and oblivion through magic and ritual. The number do not emphasize the distinction between this world and oblivion, as do the human cultures of Tamriel. They regard our world and the other world as a whole, with many paths from one end to the other, rather than two separate worlds of different natures and with distinct borders. So basically, my race views oblivion, which I guess, so the game before this was called Oblivion. It might be like part of the lore that the place you were playing Oblivion in was Oblivion. So if that's the thing, then my race believes that basically Oblivion and whatever this is, Tamriel, are the same world, basically. It's like two different continents, basically, is what they think. Uh, with many paths from one end to the other, rather than two separate worlds of different natures with distinct borders. This philosophical viewpoint may account for the greater affinity of elves for magic and its practices, foreign views of Dunmerry ancestral worship and spirit magic. The Altmerry and Bosmerry cultures also venerate their ancestors, but only by respecting the orderly and blissful passage of these spirits from the world to the next. That is, wood elves and high elves believe that it is cruel and unnatural to encourage the spirits of the dead to linger in our world. Even more grotesque and repugnant is the display of bloody remains of ancestors in ghost fences and ash pits. The representation of finger bones in a family shrine, for example, is sacrilegious to the Bosmerry, who eat their dead. What? And barbaric to the Altmerry, who enter their dead. The human cultures of Tamriel are ignorant and fearful of dark elves and their culture, considering them to be unhuman and evil, like Orcs and Argonians, but more sophisticated. The human populations of Tamriel associate Dunmerry ancestral worship and spirit magic with necromancy. In fact, this association with the dark elves with necromancy is at least partly responsible for the dark reputation of Dunmer through Tamriel. This is generally an ignorant misconception, for necromancy outside the acceptable current rituals is a most abhorrent abomination in the eyes of the Dunmer. The Dark Elves would never think of practicing sorcerous necromancy upon any Dark Elf or upon the remains of any elf. However, Dark Elves consider the human and Orcish races to be a little more than humans. A little more than animals. There is no injunction against necromancy upon such remains, or on the remains of any animal, bird, or insect. Imperial policy officially recognizes the practice of Dunmerry ancestor veneration and spirit magic as a religion, and protects their freedom to pursue such practices as long as they do not threaten the security of the Empire. Privately, most Imperial officials and traders believe Dark Elf ancestor worship and displays of remains are barbaric or even necromantic. Necromancy. The Telvanni necromancy. The Telvanni are adept masters of necromancy. They do not, however, practice necromancy upon the remains of Dark Elves. Sane Telvanni regards such practices with loathing and righteous anger. They do not practice necromancy upon the remains of animals and upon the remains of humans, orcs, and Argonians, who are technically no more than animals in Morrowind. So where is Morrowind? Is that like the Dark Elves, the Dunmerry's place? Is there more? No, that's it. Okay. Publisher's note. This book was written by an unknown scholar as a guide for foreign visitors to Morrowind shortly after the armistice was signed. Many of these practices have since fallen into disfavor. Obvious changes are those regarding the practice of necromancy in the Great Ghost Fence. Dunmer today regard necromancy upon any of the accepted races as an abomination. The Ghost Fence has forced many changes in the practice of ancestor worship, with the vast majority of ancestors' remains going to strengthen the Great Ghost Fence around the mountain of Dagoth-Ur, where there are very few clan ghost fences in Morrowind. The temple discourages such practices among these houses as selfish. and the upkeep of family tombs and private waiting doors has always also fallen into disfavor, as very few remains have been buried in these tombs and shrines since armistice. In recent years, most Dunmer venerate a small portion of their ancestral remains to be kept at the local temple. So basically, it changed. They no longer keep them around their houses and stuff. They're all going to seemingly the same place. Where does it say it? Ghost Princes around the mountain of Dagath-Ur, which I'm guessing that's where Morrowind is. So it's all just protecting Morrowind as a whole instead of just individual houses. So, yeah, Argonian Book 1. Argonian Account Book 1. I only have one of these books, so I'm not gonna... Give me a sec. This is probably gonna be a multi-part type thing. Yeah. Where did I put them again? I put them in here. No, I think I put them in here. You can go in there, you can go in there, you can go in there, you can go in there. Okay, next up is Beggar Prince. There's like so many copies of these around, like, I guess it's some sort of a story. I thought it's a informal thing, but I'll read it. Okay. Beggar Prince. The story of Weedle and his gifts from the Daedric Lord Namira. Yeah, it's just a whole story. Okay, I'm gonna read it. We look down upon the beggars of the empire. These souls lost are the poor and enriched of the land. Every city has its beggars. Most are so poor that they only have the clothes on their backs. They eat the scraps the rest of us throw out. We toss them a coin so that we don't have to think too long about their plight. Imagine my surprise when I heard the tale of the beggar prince. I could not imagine what a prince of beggars would be. Here is the tale I heard. It takes place in the First Age, when gods walked like men in Daedra, stalking the wilderness with impunity. Okay. It is a time before they were all confined to oblivion, where there was once a man named Weedle, or maybe it was a woman. The story goes to great lengths to avoid declaring Weedle's gender. Weedle was the 13th child of a king in Valenwood. As such, Weedle was in no position to take the throne or even inherit much property or wealth. Weedle had left the palace to find independent fortune and glory. After many days of endless forest roads and tiny villages, Weedle came upon three men surrounding a beggar. A 3-man? Is that just Old English or is that broken English? I'm pretty sure that's broken. Ethan.
What?
Guess what? They messed up something.
What?
Weedle came upon a 3-men surrounding a beggar.
What?
Weedle came upon a 3-man surrounding a beggar. The beggar was swaddled with rags from head to toe. No portion of the vagabond's body was visible. The men were intent on slaying the beggar. With a cry of rage and indignation, Weedle charged the men with sword drawn. Being simple townsfolk, armed with only pitchforks and scythes, they immediately fled from the armored figure with a shining sword. Many thanks for saving me, wheezed the beggar from beneath the heap of foul rags. Weedle could barely stand the stench. What is your name, wench? Weedle asked. I am Namira. Unlike the townsfolk, Weedle was well learned. That name meant nothing to them, but to Weedle it was a opportunity. You're a Daedric lord, Weedle exclaimed. Why did you allow those men to harass you? You could have slain them all with a whisper. I am pleased you recognized me, Namira rasped. I am frequently reveled by townsfolk. It pleases me to be recognized for my attribute, if not for my name. Weedle knew that Namira was a Daedric lord of all things gross and repulsive. Diseases such as leprosy and gangrene were her domain. Where others might have seen danger, Weedle sought opportunity. Oh, great, Namiri. Let me apprentice myself to you. I ask only that you grant me powers to make my fortune and forge a name for myself that will live through the age. Nay, I make my way alone in the world. I have no need for an apprentice. Namira traveled off down the road. Weedle could not be put off. With a bound, Weedle was at Namira's heel, pressing the cage for an apprentice. For 33 days and nights, Weedle kept up the beat. Namira said nothing, but Weedle's voice was ceaseless. Finally, on the 33rd day, Weedle was too hoarse to talk. Namira looked back on the sun-silent figure. Weedle knelt in the mud, and at her feet, open hands raised in supplication. It would seem you have completed your apprenticeship to me, after all, Namira declared. I shall grant your request. Weedle was overjoyed. I grant you the power of disease. You may choose to be afflicted with any disease you choose, changing them at will, so long as it has visible symptoms. However, you must always bear at least one. I grant you the power of pity. You may invoke pity in anyone that sees you. Finally, I grant you the power of disregard. You may cause others to disregard your presence. Weedle was aghast. These were not boons from which a fortune could be made. They were curses, each awful in its own right. But together they were unthinkable. How am I to make a fortune and forge a name for myself with these terrible gifts? As you begged at my feet for 33 days and 33 nights, so shall you now beg for your fortune in the cities of men. Now your name will become legendary among the beggars of Tamriel. The story of Weedle, the prince of beggars, shall be handed down throughout the generations. It was as Namiri had predicted. Weedle was an irresistible beggar. None could see the wrench without desperately wanting to toss a coin at the huddled form. However, Weedle also discovered that the power of disregard gave him great access to the secrets of realms. People unknowingly said important things where Weedle could hear them. Weedle grew to know the comings and goings of every citizen in the city. To this day, it is said that if you really want to know something, go ask the beggars. They have eyes and ears throughout the city. They know all the little secrets of daily lives of its citizens. It's pretty lit. Good story.
Jack.
What?
Guess what I just found?
What?
Black Soul Gem.
I gotta be black, huh? How good is that?
Oh, I can.
How good is that?
I can get rid of vampirism if I want to.
You can do what?
It's the only way I can get rid of vampirism.
Are you
What?
going to?
I mean, if I have to, I will.
Why would you ever have to?
Like, if I need to interact with certain people, but they're not going to interact with me because I'm a vampire.
not what I want. Okay. Biography of Baranzah, Volume 1, by Stern Gamboj, Imperial Scribe. Late in the Second Era, a girl child, Baranzea, was born to the rulers of the kingdom of Mournhold. In what is now the imperial province of Morrowind, she was reared in all the luxury and security benefiting a royal dark elven child, until she reached 5 years of age. At that time, His Excellency Tiber Septim the first emperor of Tambriel, demanded that the decadent, is that? Yeah, decadent. Demanded that the decadent rulers of Morrowind yield to him and institute imperial reforms. Trusting to their valued magic, the Dark Elves impudently refused until Tiber Septim's army was on the borders. An armistice was hastily signed by the now eager Dunmer, but not before there were several battles, one of which laid waste to Mournhold, now called Almalthea. Little Princess Baranzea and her nurse were found among the wreckage. The imperial general, Symmachus, himself a dark elf, suggested to Tiber Septim that the child might someday be valuable, and she was therefore placed with the loyal supporter who had recently retired from the imperial army. Sven Adsvensson had been granted the title of court upon his retirement. His fiefdom, Darkmoor, was a small town in central Skyrim. Court Sven and his wife reared the princess as their own daughter, seeing to it that she was educated appropriately, and more importantly, that the imperial virtues of obedience, discretion, loyalty, and piety were instilled in the child. In short, she was made fit to take her place as a member of the new ruling class of Morrowind. The girl Baranzea grew in beauty, grace, and intelligence. She was sweet-tempered, a joy to her adoptive parents and their 5 young sons, who loved her as their elder sister. Other than her appearance, she differed from the young girls of her class only in that she had strong empathy for the woods and the fields, and was wont to escape her household duties to wander there at times. Baranzea was happy and content with her 16th year, when a wrecked orphan stable boy, whom she had befriended out of pity, told her that he had overheard a conspiracy between her guardian, Count Sven, and a Redguard visitor to sell her as a concubine to Rehad, as no Nord or Breton would marry her on account of her black skin. That's a bro moment. And no dark elf would have her because of her foreign upbringing. "Whatever shall I do?" the poor girl said, weeping and trembling, for she had been brought up in innocence and trust, and it never occurred to her that her friend the stable boy would lie to her. Idiot. Why would you listen to her, or to him? The wicked boy, who was called Straw, saw that she must run away if she valued her virtue, but that he would come with her as her protector. Sorrowfully, Baranzea agreed to this plan, and that every night she disguised herself as a boy, and the pair And that very night, she disguised herself as a boy, and the pair escaped to a nearby city of Run. That's where I am. After a few days there, they managed to get jobs as guards for the disreputable merchant caravan. For, yeah, for A, not the. The caravan was heading east by the side roads in a meticulous attempt to elude the lawful tolls charged on the imperial highways. Thus, the pair eluded pursuit until they reached the city of Riften, where they ceased their travels for a time. They felt safe in Riften, close as it was to Morrowind border, so that dark elves were enough common of a sight. Are they still there? Should I go to Riften? How close is Riften? Here. I'm just gonna look at my map real quick. Oh no, there's more to it. I'm in here. Can I world map? Riften. It's supposed to be. Where is Riften? Oh, isn't it? No? Okay. So it should be this way, right? I feel like I should have, like, where... Oh, that's Riften right there. I was about to say, I should have, like, enough information from these books for it to put it on the map. No, okay. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the biography of Barinzia. And then I'm gonna end the video here. Yeah, okay. The first volume of this series told the story of Barinzia origin, heiress to the throne of Mournhold, until a father rebelled against his excellency Tabraseptum I, and brought ruin to the province of Morrowind. Thanks largely to the benevolence of the emperor, the child Barinzia was not destroyed with her parents, and reared by Count Van of Darkmoor, a loyal imperial trustee. She grew up into a beautiful and pious child, trustful of her guardian's care. This trust, however, was exploited by a wicked orphan stable boy at Count Van's estate, who, with lies and fabrications, tricked her into fleeing Darkmoor with him when she turned 16. After many adventures on the road, they settled in Riften, a Skyrim city near the Morrowind borders. The stable boy, Straw, was not altogether evil. He loved Barinzia in his own selfish fashion, and deception was the only way he could think of that would cement possession of her. Okay. She, of course, felt only friendship towards him, but he was hopeful that she would gradually change her mind. He wanted to buy a small farm and settle down into a comfortable marriage, but at the time his earnings were barely enough to feed and shelter them. After only a short time in Riften, Straw fell in with a bold, villainous Khajiit thief named Theris, who proposed that they rob the imperial commandant's house in the central part of the city. Theris said that he had a client, a traitor of the empire, who would pay well for any information they could gather there. Barinzia happened to overhear this plan and was appalled. She stole away from their rooms and walked the streets of Riften in desperation, torn between her loyalty to the Empire and her love for her friends. In the end, loyalty to the Empire prevailed over the personal friendship, and she approached the commandant's house, revealing her true identity, and warned him of her friend's plan. The commandant listened to her tale, praised her courage, and assured her that no harm would come to her. He was none other than General Semachius, who had been touring the countryside in search of her since her disappearance, and had just arrived in Riften, in pursuit. He took her into his custody and informed her that, far from being sent away to be sold, she was to be reinstated as the Queen of Marhold as soon as she returned 18. Until that time, she was to live with the Septim family in the newly built imperial city, where she would learn something of government and to be presented at the imperial court. At the imperial city, Barenzia befriended the Emperor Tiber Septim during the middle years of his reign. Tiber's children, particularly his older son and heir, Pelagius, came to love her as a sister. The ballads of the day praised her beauty, chastity, wit, and learning. On her 18th birthday, the entire imperial city turned out to watch her farewell procession preliminary to her return to her native land. Sorrowful as they were at her departure, all knew that she was ready for her glorious destiny as sovereign of the kingdom Mournhold. Biography of Barenzia, Volume 3. In the second volume of this series, it was told how Barenzia was kindly welcomed into the new constructed imperial city by the Emperor Tiber Septim and his family, who treated her like a long-lost daughter during her almost 1 year stay. After several happy months there learning her duties as vassal queen under the empire, the imperial general Symmachus escorted her to Mournhold, where she took her duties as queen of her people under his wise guidance. Gradually, they came to love one another and were married and crowned in splendid ceremony, at which the emperor himself officiated. After several hundred years, a marriage. What? That's the time skip. After several hundred years of marriage, a son, Helseth, was born to the royal couple amid celebration and joyous prayer. Although it was not publicly known at the time, it was. Wait, how long did Mary live? Okay, so I'm confused because it just said after a couple hundred years, several hundred years. They're both dark elves, so I'm pretty sure that's why it says.
Well, these vampires have been alive for a few centuries.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure dark elves live for a long time. Joyous prayer. Although it was not publicly known at the time, it was shortly before this blessed event that the Staff of Chaos had been stolen from its hiding place deep in Mournhold mines by a clever enigmatic bard known only as the Nightingale. 8 years after Nightingale. Yeah, that's also a thing. Could also be Nightingale. Nightingale. 8 years after Helseth's birth, Barenzia bore a daughter, Morgea, named after Symmachus' mother, and the royal couple's joy seemed complete. Alas, shortly after that, relations with the empire mysteriously deteriorated, leading to much civil unrest in Mournhold. After fruitless investigations and attempts at reconciliation, in despair, Barenzia took her young children and traveled to the imperial city herself to speak at the ear of Emperor. Oh, this happened during his reign. That's the person that's reigning right now, I'm pretty sure. Herself to speak to seek the ear of then Imperial. Oh, never mind. Of then Emperor Earl Septim. So he was mentioned in the book of Skyrim, or the yeah. To your Septim. Samachus remained in Mournhold to deal with the grumbling presence and annoyed nobility, and do what he could to stave off an impending insurrection. During her absence, the Emperor, Barenza, through her magical arts, came to realize, to her horror and dismay, that the so-called Emperor was an imposer, none other than the bard Narthstil, who had stolen the Staff of Chaos. Exercising great self-control, she concealed this realization from him. That evening, news came that Symmachus had fallen in battle with the revolting peasants of Mournhold, and that the kingdom had been taken over by the rebels. Barenzia, at this point, did not know where to seek help from or from whom. The gods, that faithful night, were evidently looking out for her, as if the redness of her loss. King Adri of High Rock and old friend of Earl Septim and Symmachus came by on a social call. He comforted her, pledged his friendship, and furthermore confirmed her suspicion that the Emperor was indeed a fraud, and none other than Hagar Tharn, the imperial battle mage, and one of the Nightingale's many alter egos. Tharn had supposedly retired into seclusion from public work and installed his assistant, Rhea Salmain, in his stead. The hapless assignment was later put to death under mysterious circumstances. Supposedly a plot implicating her had been uncovered, and she had been summarily executed. However, her ghost had appeared to Idriri, yep, that's how you say that, in a dream, and revealed to him that the true emperor had been kidnapped by Tharn and imprisoned in an alternate dimension. The heck? Entire alternate dimension. Seems about right. Tharn had then used the Staff of Chaos to kill her when she attempted to warn the Elder Council of his nefarious plot. Together, Eldril and Barenzia plotted to gain the false emperor's confidence. Meanwhile, another friend of Rhea's, known only as the Champion, who apparently possessed great, albeit then untapped potential, was incarcerated at the Imperial dungeons. However, she had access to his dreams, and she told him to bide his time until she could devise a plan that would effect his escape. Then he could begin his mission to unmask the imposer. Barenzia continued to charm and eventually befriend the great Ursat. What? The Esat Emperor? What? Ethan. What is that word?
What word?
Ursats? Like, what even is that? Looks like someone just clicked a whole bunch of random buttons and then it's like they forgot to remove it or something.
No, that's a word. I don't know what it means, but I know it's a word. I've heard it before.
By contriving to read his secret diary, she learned that he had broken the Staff of Chaos into 8 pieces and hidden them in far-flung locations scattered across Tamriel. She managed to obtain a copy of the key to Ria's friend's cell and bribed a guard to leave it there as if by accident. Their champion, whose name was unknown even to Barenzia and Edwire, I think it is, Edwire, made his escape through a shift gate Ria had opened in an obscure corner of the Imperial dungeons using her already failing powers. The champion was free at last, and almost immediately went to work. It took Berenzia several more months to learn the hiding place of all 8 staff pieces through snatches of overheard conversations and rare glimpses at Tharn's diary. Once she had the vital information, however, which she communicated to Ria forthwith, who in turn passed it on to the champion, she and Edwire lost no time. They fled to Werest in his ancestral kingdom in the province of High Rock, where they managed to fend off the sporadic efforts of Tharn's henchmen to haul them back to the Imperial City, or at the very least, obtain revenge. Tharn, whatever else might be said of him, was no one's fool, save perhaps Barenzia's, and he concentrated most of his efforts toward tracking down and destroying the champion. As all know now, the courageous and forever nameless champion was successful in reuniting the 8 sundered pieces of the... Is this part of Oblivion?
What?
I kind of feel like this is part of Oblivion. Like this is some quest in Oblivion. Because it kind of feels like that. Either that or we're gonna meet this champion later on. Because it's like... This really seems like something you would do in a quest.
What?
Just, go around and find 8 pieces of like a staff that was broken apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a thing you did in Oblivion. Let's see here. Was successful in reuniting the 8 sundered pieces of the Staff of Chaos. With it, he destroyed Tharn and rescued the true Emperor, Earl Septim VII. Following what has come to be known as the Restoration, a grand state memorial service was held for Symmachus at the Imperial City, benefiting the man who had served the Septim dynasty for so long and so well. Barenzia and good King Edwire, that's what I'm gonna say. No. Had come to care deeply for one another during their trials and adventures, and were married in the same year shortly after their flight from the Imperial City. Her 2 children from a previous marriage with Symmachus remained with her, and a regent was appointed to rule Mournhold in her absence. Up to the present time, Queen Berenzia has been in Wayrest with Prince Helseth and Princess Morgia. She plans to return to Mournhold after Edwire's death, since he was already elderly when they wed. She knows that the event, alas, cannot be far off as the elves reckon time. Until then, she shares in the government of the kingdom of Wayrest with her husband, and seems glad and content with her finally quiet and happily unremarkable life. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. We got a lot of books to read, so hope you enjoyed that. Just a quick little glimpse into some of the lore, some of the people in the Skyrim as a whole. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.